Welcome. So here we are. I was invited by this channel. I'm going to show you here, World of Antiquity. So the host of the channel is Dr. Miano, and you might be familiar because I've recently made a video just to show you what, for those of you who don't know, I think most of you do, although then again, algorithm is always a little weird with these things. So I'm just going to double check. I'm going to go to my channel. I'm going to share my screen in a second. Here we are. So as you know, this is my channel, very nice. And as we go down, you see this, which as you can see, I made a debunking video, not attacking him, of course. I have nothing against him personally, but yeah, we see the past when it comes to ancient Rome in a different way. Yet, I wanted to say this to speak positively about him, because even though we disagree quite strongly on quite a few aspects, he still invited me and said, hey, Metatron, do you want to come and join this live stream? Because I'm going to have a geologist in this live stream as well. I'm going to talk about these alleged findings when it comes to the utilization of SAR technology in the pyramids of Giza. In general, we're talking about the Giza plateau and the complex. It would be great to have you as a guest because I watched the conference and then all the other interviews with all the three scientists that are involved in the discussion, whether it be Armando May, Corrado Malanga, or Filippo Biondi. And so they said it would be great to have you. And so I went, and we just finished a 1 hour and 15 minutes live stream. Wasn't too long or in depth, but yeah, it was great. And personally, I really appreciate that because it shows whether we agree or not, because I know some, of course, I mean, a lot of you agree with my positions. Yeah, the blue pill versus red pill guy, exactly. So I know that a lot of you agree with my positions rather than his, but one thing that we can say is that the guy's got spine, because there are a lot of people who could have got offended by it, right? Be like, oh, Metatron, and then started calling me stuff. He not only didn't do that, but he in fact invited me, was very polite.
All right. You might be wondering why a guy who just critiqued one of my videos is on my live stream today. But you know what? Metatron is a very cordial fellow. And even though he might disagree with me from time to time, and I might disagree with him, and his video is completely wrong. But, we're all, you know, we all can speak to one another. And in this particular case, Metatron and I are pretty much in agreement.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So we are going to be talking about the pyramid scans, the SARS scans. And Bob Schneiker here, our geologist, is going to tell us about the geology of the situation.
We had very good discussion on the pyramids of Giza. We all three spoke about it. This gentleman here, his name is, I kind of put it in the description of my, because I made a post on X about this, and I said I'm joining historian Dr. David Miano and geologist Bob Schneiker on his channel World of Antiquity. And so these are the gentlemen that were involved in this analysis of the findings of Giza. I mostly spoke about the methodology and then answered questions pertaining to what they said.
Metatron,
Yes.
would you consider all three of these fellows to be equal as far as their scientific expertise?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
So who is the real brains behind this?
Okay, so of course we've got these three names. But anyways, it was interesting. So I would suggest you to check it out. Why not? I'll give him a like. He said he's going to leave the VOD up. And so that's just wanted to tell you this, and then we can speak a little bit about the experience, but you missed it. That's fine. Don't worry about it. That's great. So we can talk about it now. And I still encourage you to go check it. Okay.
Wow. So Metatron, did they say how they know what things are made out of?
Yeah, they do
Because
say that these vibrations, different materials vibrate in different ways. They do say that.
Exactly.
And that's how
So,
they
so when they say,
claim.
"Oh, this is glass," it's because of
so
a certain vibration.
Yeah.
yeah, David, if you go to slide 35,
The Giza Plateau complex dates to 36,400 years ago. That's the statement.
Why go 10,000 when you can go 36,000, right?
And not to, exactly, not to mention, he says that a civilization built it, which means we are talking about a civilization that it's either from the upper Paleolithic or the early Mesolithic. So normally we don't consider civilization to exist in the Paleolithic. So there is also that the word usage should be discussed. What civilization are we talking about?
Yeah. So I have to wonder if, I mean, Filippo Biondi, even if he is a scientist, he must have known what he was getting into,
Oh, he
right?
does. He
Because
does.
Malanga would have hired him to basically do this, wouldn't he have?
I think it was a good discussion, and in fact, I think I would like to start having some guests, not in on all of my live streams, but for some of my live streams, I think it would be nice to have a guest every now and then talk about all sorts of topics that you guys might find interesting. A live stream about a live stream, yeah, that's meta. That's the meta in Metatron, my friend. Yeah, we got the Maximilian helmet right here. He says, just a matter of time before Metatron is hosting Ancient Aliens. Hey, I'm happy to host anyone. Now, given if I'm hosting someone to have a discussion, conversation, or debate, three different formula, of course, and I think that what they present is nonsense, I'll be brutal about it, but polite, right? So you wanna attack the argument, but I would still do it with class. That's just me. But yeah, so no, I don't have a problem having guests. I can have guests that I agree with, and so we can kind of discuss and go deeper into topics that perhaps you guys might find interesting. But at the same time, I'm not against having guests that I completely disagree with, even more than with Dr. Miano, because honestly, with Dr. Miano, we disagree on ancient Rome nomenclature and classification, but there are a lot of other things that we do agree on. So it's not even one of those situations. But if it is a situation where, yeah, I would have someone here that I think spews nonsense 24/7, I would still have them here. And they would be treated with respect. What I would not respect is what they push. So there is that. But yeah, not the case. World of Antiquity, we'll see. Yeah, we had an interesting discussion. I mean, at the end of the day, even though we disagree on a few things, on this, we mostly agree on. And so at the end of the day, this was a very simple, I say, discussion to have when it comes to the interpretation of the findings under the Giza plateau. We spoke a lot about the methodology implemented, particularly by because you see, one of the problems that I have with this, as I've discussed at length now, is that the conference proper was divided into three because we've got three speakers. The first speaker being Armando May, second Filippo Biondi, third Corrado Malanga. And the idea is Corrado Malanga is the big guy, big shot. He's the one that is going to tell us all the wow. Filippo Biondi is the technical expert, so the one that actually understands it's his technique. So he explains the SAR technology, synthetic aperture radar. And Armando May, who was the first speaker during the conference, was the one that was supposed to give us the intellectual justification as the foundational basis for the rest of the research. So ideally, what motivated them to point the two satellites that they used to the Giza plateau, expecting there to be something underneath, aka the chambers, right? Holes of Amenti, which is what they were expecting and still believe they have found. And he was the one who was supposed to tell us, look, we did all of this research, incredible research, detective stuff. And that's when we decided, you know what, I think the ancient, not Egyptians, because they say it wasn't the Egyptians, but the ancient whatever the heck that built the pyramids and the Sphinx and the shaft and Osiris shaft and the Temple of the Valley and all the rest, they are telling us that under here you've got something. And so that's what motivated this. He failed at that presentation. It was a complete, utter nonsense of a presentation. And so if the foundational justification fails, then my level of skepticism is increased by a factor of 10. It still doesn't mean that I know for a fact that that there is nothing underneath. I'm not like that. I always leave a little possibility, like, who knows, maybe there is something. But then again, that's the main problem. So we talked about this at length during this live stream, which I thought it was interesting. But if you have any questions about this, of course, here is the time to talk. What did they call themselves before? The Greeks named the place Egypt. Well, we do have the KMT, KMT, and then the way you articulate that the Egyptians used to refer to themselves. Now, the way you articulate the vowels is always a little tricky, because do remember that Egyptian hieroglyphics do not write vowels, it's only consonants. And this is something that happens in all sorts of Semitic languages, because it's the same in biblical Hebrew. Now they do write the vowels using dots in biblical Hebrew, but it's a modern addition in the way it was written originally, no vowels. So yeah, we know that K, M, T are the three letters that the ancient Egyptians used to refer to themselves. Now some people vocalize that into Kemet. You must have heard it a lot of the times. I personally think that the best, most probable vowel vocalization would be Kumat. That's what I think. But regardless, if you want to use Kemet and you want to use the vowel of convention, which usually is what the E is, or maybe you want to justify it through Coptic, I don't have a problem with that. If you think that Kemet is the way, use Kemet, use Kumat, KMT. Pretty much is how they refer to them. Kermit would be a great way to do it. Absolutely, Nicholas. Yeah, so no, of course, they didn't use... And likewise, the name Africa, which the Romans used, only meant the north. Literally, it only meant the north. It's a province. Now, which part of this is then extended? You have Africa Tingitana, you have Africa Proconsularis, the length, and then, like, if you want to try and say, yeah, but Africa Proconsularis, for instance, this province, how many modern states that it include, that depends, because in each period during the Roman Republic, during the Roman Empire, these provinces and the prefectures, they change, there is redistribution, but in general we can say that the historical word Africa, which the Romans used, did not mean the entire continent, it only meant the northern part, and up to what point depends on what period we're looking. B. Vargas says, I think the term Ethiopian, yeah, the other spelling was typically used for black people. You're absolutely correct. At least among the ancient Greeks, yes, that's correct. In fact, they use it to mean black people in general. They don't even mean it, because modernly Ethiopians are people from Ethiopia. But yeah, Cushite could be referred to as an Ethiopian from the perspective of an ancient Roman. So you're absolutely right. Yeah, Ethiopian history is really cool.